Welcome to another captivating analysis. Buckle up. We're about to embark on a journey that challenges conventional claims with logic and evidence. You've probably heard this claim before. Without Hadith, you can't prove the Quran was preserved and reliably transmitted. But is that really true? Or is it just another attempt to force dependence on Hadith? Let's break it down. Before we dive in, let's pause and reflect. If mere preservation and transmission of a text were proof of its divinity, then we'd have to extend the same logic to other well-preserved scriptures, such as those from the Qadiani or Momen sects. If preservation alone confirms divine origin, does that mean every well-preserved text is divinely inspired? Clearly not. Similarly, if someone today presented a book printed in audio and video format and claimed it was from Allah, would we accept it just because it was well preserved? Of course not. Preservation and transmission are historical matters, not proof of divine authority. There are many books that have been well preserved and transmitted, yet no one claims they are divine. The question of whether the Quran has been preserved and transmitted is fundamentally a historical inquiry. Therefore, the answer must come from historical analysis, not theological assumptions. For instance, if someone asks how Shakespeare's works were preserved and transmitted, we rely on historical research and critical methods, not theological claims, to verify their authenticity. So, should the Quran's preservation be analyzed any differently? For the sake of argument, let's temporarily accept the premise that the Quran's preservation and transmission mandate the Hadith. Before we go further, let's define Hadith. Hadith refers to reports of the Prophet's words, actions, or silent approvals. Now, let's examine a few famous Hadith regarding the Quran's preservation. Hadith number 1, compilation after Yamamah, Sahih al-Bukhari, 4986. Zayd ibn Thabit said, Abu Bakr sent for me after the heavy casualties at Yamamah and said, Umar has come to me and said, casualties were heavy among the Quran reciters, so we should compile the Quran. Pause for a moment. Does this Hadith fit the definition of Hadith itself? Or is this a historical event detailing the compilation of the Quran after the Battle of Yamamah? If Hadith is supposed to be divine revelation or Wahi, then who received this Wahi? Abu Bakr, Umar, or Zayd ibn Thabit? Hadith number 2, Uthman's standardization, Sahih al-Bukhari, 4987. Uthman ordered the standardization of the Quran to prevent differences. Again, does this Hadith match the definition of Hadith? These reports are not the Prophet's words, actions, or approvals. Or should we assume that since the Prophet had already passed away, this counts as his silent approval? If you write down a historical record and claim it's from Allah, that's your belief, your choice. But that has nothing to do with us. Now, if the Quran requires Hadith to validate its preservation and transmission, then what validates Hadith itself? This leads us to 3 possibilities. This results in circular reasoning, where Hadith is used to confirm itself, a claim proving itself. That's not how verification works. This also leads to circular reasoning. If Hadith is necessary to understand the Quran, but is also justified by the Quran, we're back to square one. Wahi confirming Wahi. This introduces even more logical problems. Returning to the Quran as the final validator. If we use the Quran to validate Hadith, we fall back into circular reasoning, infinite regress. If Hadith needs another source for validation, what validates that source? If each source requires another, this creates an endless chain, just like the philosophical problem of who created God. Using historical or scientific analysis to validate Hadith Most Hadith proponents take this possibility, but it raises two major questions. If Hadith can be validated through external methods, why can't we apply those same methods directly to the Quran? If one argues that the Quran is more reliable than Hadith, and Hadith is more reliable than historical sources like Ilm al-Rijal, this creates a paradox. We end up validating the Quran using the least reliable source in their hierarchy, undermining its reliability. This contradicts their initial claim of the Quran's superior reliability. Thus, any attempt to establish the authenticity of Hadith either leads to circular reasoning, infinite regress, or raises the question, why can't the Quran be validated independently? The reality is, the Quran does not need Hadith for its preservation. Historical evidence, manuscript studies, and linguistic consistency are all tools available for verification. Content analysis will prove it is from Allah, and it is the ideal. So the next time someone insists that you must rely on Hadith to prove the Quran's preservation, ask them, who validates Hadith? Watch them fall into the same logical trap we just uncovered. If you found this analysis eye-opening, don't forget to like, share and subscribe. Until next time, think critically and seek the truth. Peace be upon you.